The wheels are set in motion for the Russian military to take joint control of several points across the Syrian border with the Turkish military.
We are 2 kilometers away from the town of Ain al-Arab at the moment. Here, a detachment of military police of the Russian army will patrol along the border and will be deployed at a base.
The zone is 10 kilometers deep. The rest of the 440-kilometer border will be controlled by Turkey and its Syrian rebel allies. As of noon on Wednesday, Kurdish troops were given less than a week to retreat by at least 30 kilometers. It's a crushing blow to the Kurds, who've lost many key towns. Pictured here is what is thought to be the YPG HQ in Ras Al Ain, now draped in the Syrian and Turkish flag. In the city of Qamishli, protesters took to the streets bearing pictures of dead fighters, including prominent politician Hevrin Halaf, who was killed by Turkish-backed forces earlier this month.
Entrance to the city of Ras Al Ain in northeast Syria. It's been 1 week since the National Army, backed by Turkish military forces, have cleared the city of YPG terrorists. Intense fighting took place in this city to clear the city of YPG terrorists. The Syrian National Army and the Turkish military also found extensive tunnel systems and also booby-trapped homes and IEDs and mines in the city. As you can see, the city has been left intact for the most part. There isn't damage to the city. The Turkish military was very careful not to conduct airstrikes on any kinds of civilian buildings. Now we're walking through the center of the city, down the main road that comes from the Turkey-Syria border. The town has been under the control of the Syrian National Army and the Turkish military forces. They have been dealing with the security threats here since they entered, trying to secure the area so that civilians could return.
They tried to reclaim the streets, but the people stood their ground. Lebanon's army has been ordered by politicians to open roads across the country. The same politicians these Lebanese want gone. There were skirmishes, a few injuries, but at the end, the military took a step back. This is the main highway connecting the capital Beirut to North Lebanon. Protesters have been blocking roads in the hope of pressuring the government to resign. Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri, who said protests will be tolerated in squares, ordered the security forces to clear the streets. It's not clear if the presence of cameras stopped the soldiers from using excessive force, but not long after, the Army Command issued a statement making it clear daily life must not be disrupted.
People chant, "Revolution, revolution, we want the fall of the regime." Protesters are still very much defiant. They are refusing to leave the streets. It seems Lebanon will witness a prolonged period of unrest if the Lebanese government refuses to resign.
Internationally this morning, police in Northern Ireland have carried out raids in connection with that discovery yesterday of 39 bodies in a truck container near London. As investigators continue to question the 25-year-old driver, there are reports circulating now in British media about the victim's nationality.
Well, there are reports, Heather, that are emerging this morning that the victims in the truck were Chinese nationals. Now, we have not heard that officially from police, and we'll wait for an update from them. They have been clear it will take some time to identify the 39 victims. Now, meanwhile, more details are emerging about the shipping container's journey. Police say the refrigerated container traveled from Belgium to Purfleet, a smaller UK port, early Wednesday morning. And that's where it was allegedly picked up by the truck and driver, a 25-year-old man from Northern Ireland. He remains in custody. Now, authorities believe he took that container to the industrial site not long after that.
Well, some reprieve today for Boeing stock. Its faulty MAX series may return to service by the end of the year. That's helping make up for weaker than expected quarterly profits. But of course, it's no reprieve for relatives of the victims of its twin disasters.
Families of the victims of the Lion Air disaster travelled to Jakarta. They were among the first to be told why the Boeing 737 MAX went down last October, killing all 189 people on board. Indonesian investigators told them that the aircraft type included design flaws in its MCAS anti-stall system, and that incorrect sensor data caused the system to fly the aircraft into the ground. Details the victims' relatives struggle to grasp. The complete report on the crash will be published on Thursday. It's expected to reveal a further catalogue of deficiencies surrounding the new MCAS system. The US plane maker is still struggling to cope with events. It recently emerged that the company's chief technical pilot had long ago complained about out-of-control software during 737 MAX simulator testing. Boeing only forwarded his comments last Thursday.
Military training disaster that left 3 soldiers dead at Fort Stewart in Georgia. The accident early this morning during an exercise involving a Bradley fighting vehicle like this one that rolled over into the water. The Army confirming 3 soldiers did not survive. 3 others were rushed to the hospital with injuries. Authorities are now investigating, and we begin tonight with ABC's Stephanie Ramos, who's at Fort Stewart.
Tonight, investigators are looking into a deadly Army training exercise at Fort Stewart in Georgia that killed 3 soldiers. Officials say all 3 died at the scene after the Bradley fighting vehicle they were riding in rolled over into water early Sunday morning. Officials say no other vehicles were involved. Another 3 soldiers, also in the Bradley, were injured and evacuated. All of them part of the 1st Armored Brigade combat team stationed at Fort Stewart.
Fortunately, casualties in training mishaps are quite rare, but the real tragedy lies in that they can almost always have been prevented.
Mark Zuckerberg came to Capitol Hill with one fundamental message. I know we're the subject of multiple investigations and lawsuits, but trust me.
I get that I'm not the ideal messenger for this right now. We faced a lot of issues over the past few years, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who wish it were anyone but Facebook who were helping to propose this.
That idea is the creation of a global, privately run currency, Libra. Zuckerberg says it will help the 1 billion people around the world without a bank account, the poor. With Libra, they'll be able to send money to others as easy as sending a text message.
And I feel blessed to be in a position where we can make a difference in people's lives.
But he also issued a warning. If we don't do it, China will. Members of Congress were skeptical, though.
But for the richest man in the world to come here and hide behind the poorest people in the world and say that's who you're really trying to help.
Members of Congress pointed to Facebook's long history of abusing its access to the data it already possesses from its social media platforms.
All right, new charges in this college scam case. Actress Loughlin and now 10 other parents who already pleaded not guilty are now facing additional charges that could conceivably land someone like Loughlin in jail for decades. Hard to say, but this much is not. There's one clear expert on the matter, Judge Andrew Napolitano. What do you think?
I think what the government is doing is horrendous. The government is basically punishing these people for exercising their guaranteed constitutional right to plead not guilty. So they're charged with the basic bribery scheme. 40 people charged, 37 plead not guilty. The government asked for jail time. They all, with the exception of one of them, got very, very small jail sentences. The government's not happy with those jail sentences. The government's not happy that it's going to have to try Lori Loughlin. So in order to make her life more miserable, they indict her and her husband again for higher crimes. That's absolutely wrong, and it constitutes a punishment for the fault of defending yourself.
Four flight attendants for American Airlines are under arrest tonight, accused of money laundering in Miami. Authorities arresting them after the flight landed.
Tonight, 4 American Airlines flight attendants are in custody after being arrested for money laundering. According to police, Customs and Border Protection agents conducting routine checks say they found nearly $23,000 between all 4 flight attendants after their plane landed at Miami International Airport early Tuesday from Santiago, Chile. Authorities say all of them are citizens of Chile. Customs agents flagged the group when an agent asked one of them how much money he was carrying. He allegedly answered $100, but corrected his statement by saying $9,000. Agents then searched the rest of the crew and found cash on 2 more flight attendants, arresting them and a 4th person. In a statement, American Airlines says, "We take this matter seriously and are cooperating with law enforcement throughout their investigation."
And we're building a wall on the border of New Mexico. And we're building a wall in Colorado. We're building a beautiful wall, a big one that really works, that you can't get over, you can't get under.
So joining me now, CNN's resident fact checker, Mr. Daniel Dale. Sorry. Daniel. All right, facts first. Colorado isn't on the border with Mexico.
Is not.
So obviously the border wall isn't being constructed in Colorado unless there's something we don't know. But we do know that the current status of Trump's border wall, what do we know about it? Is anything new being constructed?
No. So the last data we have from the government is through September, and that data says that 69 miles of replacement barriers had been constructed in place of what they call dilapidated and outdated barriers, but 0 new miles have been built where barriers did not exist before.